What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the CRWN Cinema Podcast. In this episode, we are about to watch
Warrior.
Afterwards, we'll come back in here to shoot the shit and talk about it. So grab some popcorn, maybe a drink
Or two.
and we'll be right back. And we're back.
We just watched Warrior.
What a fucking great movie.
Got my heart pounding.
It's a great movie. It really is a great movie. But I do feel like it could have been better.
Okay.
Like, don't get me wrong, you fucking feel hyped throughout the whole movie. Me and you are fucking like talking the whole time, fucking cheering them on like it's great. But I felt like it fell short a few times on a few different things. I think with Tommy's character, his motivation is there. Like, it's got a strong motivation with him not, you know, wanting to help out his fallen soldier. But that's not really built that much in the beginning. I feel like if you would have known that in the beginning, you're going to want to root for it a little bit more, because at that final fight, you don't really get to feel you don't feel Tommy's motivation really. Like, you feel Brennan's, you like, he needs it. Like, this motherfucker's family's going to be in poverty if he doesn't. So he has this giant heart, you know, giant drive to win. Brendan does. But we don't really feel that for Tommy. And if it's built up throughout, because they're the main characters for the whole movie. And at the final fight, you should be not sure who to root for. But you definitely, you like Tommy because he's just a badass, but you want Brennan to win because Tommy's motivation really isn't there. So I think that's where it kind of fell short a little bit. And there's some other things that we'll talk about later. So if I had to rate it, I'm going to give it. I'm going to go 7.4.
Damn. Okay.
All right. Give us yours.
So, I'll just go ahead and say 7.5 for me.
Okay. I thought you would have gone a lot higher.
No. Grant, I do love this movie. I disagree with you on like the Tommy build-up thing. I think that's kind of, you know, in the movie, the audience doesn't know who he is, and like we pretty much don't either. So I think you're just like, okay, this is just like some fucked up guy.
Okay.
You know, he comes from a bad background, and he just wants to fight because that's all he knows how to do. You know, so that's what you're thinking is going on, because like you can tell he's like got some demons. I mean, yeah. You know, he's popping pills, he's drinking a lot, like all this, and so I like that. I thought that was like a pretty good way to like go about it. But the reason that the score is not as good is because I do agree that in the final fight, you shouldn't know exactly who to go for.
Yeah.
And so I am with you on that. Like I was telling you, like the whole movie, it's like Team Tommy, Team Tommy, Team Tommy. But I mean, I will say, like when it came to the last fight, like just find myself going for Brennan. You know, he's the physics teacher, 1,001 odds.
Yeah.
You know, he's already beaten the Koba, the Russian fighter that supposedly is unbeatable. So you're like, oh damn. And like he takes an ass whooping every single fight.
Yeah.
You know, where Tommy, like,
he barely broke a sweat.
He gets in and then he gets out. I mean, even with the Mad Dog fight, you know, the reason that he even got the spotlight.
That's the funniest thing too. That fight's both fights are fucking hilarious.
That was definitely like, there was some kind of comedic relief with just Mad Dog and just his character in general.
Mad Dog fucking sucks, bro.
Yeah. The insecurity about his mohawk, like he doesn't know like how he wants it to look.
Every scene it changes.
Yeah,
every single scene it changes.
And so even with that fight, I thought going into it, like, okay, you know, Tommy will win and he'll probably beat the shit out of him, but like to just knock him out that fast
and like throw him to the ground like a fucking child.
He throws him down twice and then just beats the shit. We never even find out if he lives. Remember, everybody's like concerned if he died.
Yeah.
And like there's never a report. Like
probably did die.
Yeah, and
he might as well. I mean, he fucking got a clip of him getting his ass whooped viral, and then he's like, I'm gonna knock him out of one punch, fuck him. Yeah. Which is funny because there's not really any beef. Like, it's only the beef is on Mad Dog's side, because nothing's really it just sparred him. He just beat him up in a sparring match.
Yeah.
And then he has his personal grudge.
There's kind of an excuse for that. Like, you know, Mad Dog is the big time fighter that everybody's expecting, you know, to at least do well in the tournament. and he's going against this random guy that just is like, yeah, I'll fight him for $200.
Yeah.
So he's probably just like, I'm not going to go that hard. Like, obviously, I feel like you should, as any professional athlete, like you treat, like, for basketball. I mean, Michael Jordan, he always says, like, every shot that I ever took in practice, I treated it like a game winner. Like,
right.
That's the mentality you're supposed to have. But in reality, like, you're just a man. You're probably tired of shit just sparring, like, with these random people all day. You're just not, like, 100% locked in. And then now the fights come up.
You've now trained specifically probably for him.
Yeah, they were sharing the gym. Imagine how awkward that was.
Right.
Yeah, like, they're having to look at each other and be like, yeah, like, I'm gonna, so...
Mad Dog studying him.
Yeah, and so... Which I said during the movie, Mad Dog... before the fight, he's saying, like, I'm going to knock him out in one punch.
Yeah.
And I said, that's, like, a terrible thing to, like, give up the strategy, and then actually try to do it. Because Tommy, obviously, he'll hear that somehow, that, like, oh, he's going to try and knock me out quick.
Yeah.
So, and sure enough, Mad Dog goes in for just this huge punch, and Tommy just... was expecting it.
Yeah,
it was like,
ready
Mad
for
Dog,
it.
you probably should have tried to, like, play it slow. You've seen what he's done. He already knocked you out quickly.
That's like the most embarrassing loss ever twice. Viral clip of you getting destroyed, and then you get fucking even more brutally destroyed the second time.
Yeah.
And if you're going to make a call like that where you're going to say, I'm going to knock you out in one punch, like there's a fighter in real life. His name's Gordon Ryan. He's like the greatest jiu-jitsu guy of all time. He doesn't fight in the UFC. He just does jiu-jitsu. But he's like incredibly, like never before seen talented. So what he does is he'll like write on a card how he's gonna win. I don't know if this is accurate, but I know he has predicted it. But this is the story I'm gonna say. He'll write on a card and in like an envelope and like give it to the enemy, or not the enemy, but his opponent, and then win. By the way, he told him, like, I'm gonna put you in a triangle choke. So okay, and then he fucking does it and wins.
The specifics.
Yeah.
He was like, "It's coming, and there's nothing you can do to stop it."
Because usually, like, jiu-jitsu fights are kind of boring, right? But Gordon Ryan, I've watched like a few clips on YouTube of him because he's like this legend that I hear Joe Rogan always talk about on his podcast. And literally, he'll get in the ring, and it's like a 15-second knockout almost, where he just comes in, grabs a thing, armbar, done, game over, against one of the other best in the world. So. If you're gonna make a claim like that, Mad Dog, you better fucking back that shit up.
Yeah, because see, I mean, Mad Dog's out. He's not getting back in the ring.
Time to shave that fucking mohawk, bro.
It's done. That was the other thing that I thought was really funny. Just watching it, because the first time that Tommy fights Mad Dog, Mad Dog, his entourage is just a bunch of guys with like tattoos all over tattoos all over the face.
Who are banking on the fact that he succeeds.
Mad Dog is their ticket out of, I mean, they are covered in tattoos. I mean, they're bald.
Like a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's like just inked up all the way, like full throttle. Like, you can't ever get a 9 to 5 ever again.
No, you're fucked.
Done. And so I was like, damn, like as soon as he knocked him out, like just in the sparring, one of them was like, oh fuck, like just immediately like looking at his tattooed hands, he's like, oh god, no.
Fuck,
we're so fucked with it. We don't even have a plan B. Like, the only way we survive now is that we do illegal shit.
Yeah,
that's it. That's our only option now. And so that was funny. So but what, I did think that the ending is a little underwhelming. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what it is.
The buildup is so fucking like I was like literally sweating.
Yeah.
Like my jeans were like sweaty because we were wearing jeans and I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt obviously, and so like I'm getting kind of hot watching it because I'm getting so hype with it. Like my heartbeat's fucking pounding through my chest.
It was like we were watching the fight, which that's what we said, or that's what I said, because like I've seen this movie. It was years ago.
Yeah, I watched it as like a child.
Yeah, so like as the movie was going on, I was like, oh, I forgot Tommy's a war hero.
I didn't remember anything.
Yeah. So, but then the cool part about this movie is that, all these other fighter movies that you watch, that the main guy wins
Mm-hmm.
But then when you do something like this, where you have two brothers that come from
two protagonists, really, like they're both the main character.
Yeah, so you don't know who's gonna win, and so I was trying to remember like how it went. But,
I'd assume Brendan did because he's the better man. He's got a family.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Brendan probably is going to win just because that would just make sense. If he lost, they would have to show because it ends. You don't get to see you don't get to see him get the money, his family prosper, but you just know what happens because he won.
But I'm also like, what happens to Tommy's, the family he's trying to take care of?
Right. So I was going to say, I'm sure Brendan is going to give that lady some money.
Yeah.
So, but if they had Tommy win, which is probably more realistic in all reality, Tommy's a fucking animal, and Brendan's was never even a top 500 fighter and just started training again. So like, this is pretty. Did he really? Is that possible?
It's kind of Hollywood.
But if they had Tommy win, then they'd have to show a scene where he like gives his brother like half the money or something. Because even if you're broke, I mean, if you give him $1 million, just 1/5 of it, you're fucking chilling. Your problems are solved. Yeah, likely.
Another thing, just the way that it ended, like Tommy is potentially in trouble with the Marines for desertion.
Not even the Marines, the U.S. government.
Yeah, the U.S. government. And like they're there to arrest him after the fight, and we don't know what happens. Right. Now, granted, the widow of his best friend, defends him on TV and says like, oh, like the squad was completely wiped out. Like Tommy was the only one that lived. So he didn't like actually leave his team.
Yeah.
But
that's what I mean. That stuff's not developed that well. Cause like you just get briefings of, you get briefings of it where you hear these things about Tommy. They talk about these things and it's just kind of like a small little short, not even a scene, just like a moment in the movie where you hear about it. And that's not enough to really make you care that much about it. Yeah. Brendan, you like see him going to the bank. They're going to foreclose on his house. You see his wife pissed at him. You see him struggling.
Yeah, he loses his job.
Yeah, loses his job, right?
Yeah, he gets everything's just against him. And yeah, so I mean, I'll totally agree. The development of Brendan's character is a lot better than Tommy's.
Yeah.
Even though I think just for me, like I just kind of love like that mystery aspect of people, especially like as they start getting famous. It's like, who is this guy? And like you seriously like can't find anything about him.
Yeah.
That makes you more intrigued, but not so much more invested. Like everybody, because pretty much Brendan, nobody thinks he has a shot until after he wins the first fight, and then it's like, okay, wait a minute. I mean,
he actually can win.
He can win. He's capable. That's why after the first win, that's like the most hype you ever see him, because he's like, yeah, okay, this is real. Like now it's like I have won. People can't write me off anymore. Like I wasn't supposed to be here, and I sure as hell was not supposed to win the first fight. I wasn't supposed to make it in the first round.
Yeah.
And then he makes him tap, and it's like, okay. It's it's in sight. Like I can go get it if I really try now.
And him beating Koba, which in the movie it probably is better for Brendan to beat Koba because that's just like an impossible challenge for him to actually accomplish.
Yeah,
I still would have loved to see Tommy just fucking rip Koba to shreds. Yeah, that would have been cool.
Which because I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't remember how that all went down. But I'll agree. Like it makes sense movie making wise for Brendan to fight Koba, because if Tommy beats Koba, then everybody, like all the other fighters, are kind of just at ease, I guess. It's like, oh shit, all right, like okay, now anybody can win. Like so that would have been a pretty easy cop out.
Yeah. It's funny because this movie's not I would say it doesn't age well, because I guess back then the UFC wasn't what it is today. And so hearing the wife be like, what are you doing? Like, you want to fight? And hearing the principal, which I guess he's a school teacher, so like that's why it's an issue for him to fight. But there's been like on the newest Ultimate Fighter season, I think there was a school teacher that was actually competing, and he's actually like, he teaches kids. I think he was a first grade teacher, and he's a UFC fighter.
And they didn't fire him.
No, exactly. So it just doesn't age well, because the UFC has gotten so popular that it's not weird for somebody to want to pursue it. It's not like this, oh my God, you're cage fighting?
Yeah.
So like the wife, you almost are like in the beginning, you can understand it because you're like, yeah, you don't want to see your husband get beat up in a cage, but then you're like, as the audience, you're like, well, why is she so like against him not fighting?
Yeah.
Like we get it, but that probably could have been explained more as opposed to just assuming that it's a bad idea to be a cage fighter.
Well, they do reference, I think twice, the wife and Brendan's coach talk about, like, I guess the last time that he was in a fight, like he was hospitalized.
Yeah.
But you follow the UFC. I mean, is that normal? I mean, like somebody.
That's the thing too. Is like I've never really heard of anybody from the UFC that's like almost died from a fight. Mm-hmm. Like it's usually there's referees.
Yeah, like But then I mean, you got to think. I remember because she's saying like, okay, what if you don't die? Like, the wife to Brendan, she's saying, okay, what if you don't die? Like, what if you're paralyzed? And then that would make sense. I mean, especially in this movie. I mean, like the amount of times, especially with Koba, I think there's one scene where he just like totally throws Brendan, and it looks like Brendan like could have just landed on his neck and just broken. I mean,
or even if there's
no ref in that. That's just death.
There's been a few times in the UFC when somebody would do one of those suplex slams, and your head getting knocked against the floor knocks you out. Like there's been a few of those where somebody just so much stronger than their opponent just fucking knocks him out by throwing him down against the floor. So that's possible. Like it's just like, yes, you can get hurt. Yes, you get beat up, but you generally can walk the next day.
Yeah.
So it's not like the end of the world. Like, yes, you got your ass kicked maybe. You look like shit. You're probably miserable. Like your whole entire body just is in so much pain and so sore. But you're still relatively safe. Like, that's why they could have probably done a better job explaining her reasoning against it, maybe showing something about the past.
Yeah. Talk about, okay, why was he hospitalized? Like, what happened? Did he come close to dying?
Yeah.
Like, did he come close to being paralyzed? Like, where they were? I feel like, I'll agree with that. If they kind of write that a little bit more in.
And it seemed hinted at that his heart and his, like, willpower is why he would get hurt, because he just doesn't quit.
Mm-hmm.
That was always hinted at. Even the coach kind of made a comment about him. He's like, so he said something like, I'm not going to quit. He didn't say this, but he says something along the lines of like, I'm not going to quit. He's like, that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get hurt.
I remember that.
So that could have been maybe a little bit more developed, that his heart is just so good. And speaking about his heart, not really, us knowing and just kind of assuming he has a strong heart, in the fights, that doesn't really reflect too much. Like when me and Mercedes just watched Rocky for the most recent episode of the show, and Rocky always gets up. Like his heart in the fight is just, it shines through. And when you see a father who's risking everything and he needs to win this fight to support his family, you would expect him in these fights to try to get up as fast as he can, to fucking not be like he's hurt, to not be nervous. Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, fucking, you're like, I'm gonna fuck you. Look like Tommy. You gotta look like Tommy if you're gonna fight. So it just didn't seem as honest to the character, because if you're an actual man who's fighting this to save your family and make sure you don't live in poverty and become bankrupt, you're gonna fucking be fired up every single fight. And we know he has the heart and he does win in the end, but we don't really see him with that just incredible drive and just like never give up mentality, really.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I could say to like kind of disagree with that is that the coach, like whenever they're training in the gym, they're listening to Beethoven, so he's like always preaching like deep breaths, like remain calm, so I guess his style is like, don't get too juiced up, because then, that's how you can lose focus, I guess. So I mean,
and I get why he had him, like, I get why he laid down when, like, after the first round, he, like, is laying down, like, oh, fuck, like, that was a lot. They show that to show, like, Brendan's having a tough time. Like, this is not easy.
Brendan is getting his ass whooped. So just like they thought,
Right. So that makes sense. But I think maybe it would have been a little bit better to show him get up quick and then in the chair be like, then show him after he's got up and, not back down, show he's still strong, he's ready to roll. When he's in the stool with the coach, then show him be like, dude, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, this is rough. Then maybe show. I don't know. That's what I just watching Rocky Balboa just like
he always gets up quick.
Has the greatest fucking willpower. He's overcomes everything, the best underdog story of all time, right? But you just expect to see that with Brendan, but you don't really.
Yeah. 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 Pretty much, like I said earlier, I mean, the ending is just, and I hate it. It is just a little underwhelming, and I can't exactly describe what it is. I don't know. Just it kind of lacks like the same energy.
I think it's honestly because it gets built up so much, but then it builds to what, right? Like there's not that big of a payoff because one of your main protagonists loses, and you don't really know what happens. It just kind of leaves you with like, I guess, questions, and it leaves you not solidified with what happens. Like it just seems like it closed, but it wasn't fulfilling.
I think the reason is because this whole movie, like we were saying, is like you don't really know who you want to go for. And the problem with doing that to an audience is that, okay, I mean, obviously there has to be a winner, but now it's like, okay, but I was also kind of hoping Tommy won.
Right.
So like I'm a little unfulfilled in the fact that, good for Brendan, but now I feel bad for Tommy. And then you like go on, you like you said, you assume that Brendan like gives the money, but what if Brendan's like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
The government should take care of them. How about that? Like
real shit.
Yeah. And so like I was kind of hoping, two things that I wanted to see kind of just after the fight. And this is just me, I guess, being greedy or being soft, whichever way you want to put it. But first off, I want Tommy to meet his nieces.
Yeah.
And I want Pop to get to hang out with his sons together.
Yeah.
And get to meet his granddaughters.
Yeah.
And I was like, Pop, damn, now that I think about it, there were some things that I was like, what the fuck? Like, Pop falls off the wagon.
Like are you saying like he wasn't in the movie for like the ending?
No, I mean like he literally falls off the wagon. He gets drunk because he went like over 1,000 days of never drinking, and then he drinks, and then that's when I guess Tommy decides to forgive him. But it's like, well, now what? Like,
yeah,
what now? I mean,
yeah, and then
is he a drunk, or did he get back on the wagon? I don't know. I mean.
I would assume not, but yeah, you're right. And then the ending too is because all these things get built, but the entire movie is not about their relationship.
No.
And then the ending is when they come together, but you don't really care that they come together. You would like them to, but that's not the pinnacle of the movie.
Yeah.
You don't care to really see that be the final when they're together. You're not like finally they're together.
Yeah, not during the fight.
Right.
During the fight, I want to see him like really go at it, but like Brendan is like, I love you. Like, why are you doing this? Like, all this. It's like, no. As far as you're concerned, Tommy has already told you, I don't care about you at all. You're not my brother.
And you haven't had a relationship y'all's entire life.
Yeah. And like, so I just thought that was kind of soft and a little cheesy.
Right. Yeah. It's just like it ends where it's not what the movie was. The ending's not what the movie was leading up to.
Yeah. And so yes, like I would have liked to see how that, and again, that's obviously that was probably talked about in the making of this movie, but I would have gone the route of, this is a good like American like cool story, kind of like Rocky and all this, and so you want to see after the fight that everybody's got like is getting along. Or you want some kind of closure. I mean, like, does Pop ever meet his grandkids? Are Tommy and Brendan good? Does Tommy care to get to know his family now? Or is
Tommy going to prison?
Is Tommy going to prison? Yeah. Or is it, okay, did Brendan just break his arm and then walked him out? And then Tommy gets arrested and
it's also
Pop's
like,
an alcoholic again?
Did none of the refs see that he broke his arm?
Right.
The referee is supposed to be like very attentive to the fighters.
It's very obvious that Tommy's arm is broken. I mean, he cannot move it. It's just so if that happens in the UFC, that's fight's over.
100%, 1,000%. And also, why would Brendan's coach not want the judge to know that he just broke his arm so that way Brendan can for sure win the fight? Why does he want him to like clean the house? Like, why does he want him to knock him out or finish him? Like, he did finish him. He broke his arm.
No. He did want him to finish him, but I do agree. Like at one point, Brendan looks at, I think the ref's name is Josh, and he's trying to tell him that his arm's broken.
Yeah.
and his coach is like, no, don't talk to him.
Right.
Like, but
that's a victory.
Right. Again, I don't really keep up with the UFC like that. I mean, I'll watch like the big fights with the boys if it's on, but I'm not really like keeping up with all that as much as you. So I'm wondering if somebody gets their arm broken or a leg broken or anything broken that like, if you can't lift an arm up, the other professional animal fighter is going to destroy you because you can't protect the whole side of your body.
Yes.
So do they just call it like?
Well, yeah, but most of the time, or like 100% of the time, if your arm gets broken, you're like, yeah, I'm tapping out of the fight.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm not going to stand up and keep fighting when my arm's broken. Like, I'm going to lose.
Yeah.
Why am I going to risk more pain? It's just like, Tommy's
they're brothers,
crazy, right?
And I guess they're in a way kind of duking out
their past.
They're
Tommy
both,
for sure is. Tommy's got some rage against Brendan.
Yeah, but I think Brendan does too, because Brendan, pretty sick move on Tommy's part, because pretty much the parents get split, and Tommy goes with his mom, even though he was Pop's favorite, and then Brendan goes with Pop because he was trying to like earn his respect.
Yeah.
And then so Tommy just like gives up on Brendan, and then doesn't even tell him that his mom's sick.
That's fucked.
Doesn't tell him that his mom died.
That's even more fucked.
So I could see why Brendan's like, no, fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
then it turned, but obviously like whenever you see guys fight or guys duke it out, you become best buddies afterward because y'all have now squashed it. Like you've literally done the most. Like if me and you had a problem and then we fist fight, that's like the most you can do besides killing me, which then doesn't solve the problem. So like if we duke it out, now we've like literally done everything we could have done. So then, now he's like, I love you, bro.
Yeah.
So, it makes sense that they forgive each other after they just fist fight in the cage for 5 rounds or whatever it was. But it just didn't lead up correctly, I didn't think.
I just thought it fell flat.
Yeah. What do you think about the fight scenes?
Thought they were good.
Yeah. I liked them. No, I did like them. Like they felt good, but they did a good job of making you feel like you were in the fight because they were very shaky cam up close. Mm-hmm. But I still would have liked to seen as if you watch it in the UFC. Like give us some wide angles. Let's see some martial arts in action. Like you get to see the cool arm bars and stuff, but it's always very quick cuts. It's very much in your face, and it kind of gets almost too much, I felt.
Really?
Like in the big moments, I feel like it would have been even more impactful because they already were impactful. Like you're on the edge of your seat for the fights. You're enjoying them a lot. But they would have been more impactful if those like close up, shaky cam scenes when there's like Brennan struggling or Tommy's beating the fuck out of somebody. If those only came occasionally in the big moments.
Yeah.
And then like showed them, squaring off, laying some punches in like you would in the UFC. Because like you always see the Rocky movies again, like they show the actual boxing. Like they literally are like, you see the whole ring.
Which I do. I always like that about.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so I wish they would have shown more of that. But it's probably hard. They probably just didn't want to fail and make the actors look like shit when they fight. Like maybe they didn't train or whatever.
Well, I know that's not on Tom Hardy because Tom Hardy does this. I mean, he literally
he's jacked too.
And he fights. I mean,
that's right.
I think is it jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
Is it jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
Yeah, like he does. Tom does this. I think
he's
like
a black belt. And I'm pretty sure he wins tournaments.
No, I think he's like world renowned at this point. Like I
don't know if he's world renowned, but he's definitely won a tournament.
He's a problem in the jiu-jitsu community. Like he has beaten serious
he's
people.
He's a legitimate UFC fighter. So is I think Idris Elba.
Is he?
Or at least martial arts or something.
Okay.
Because I think, don't quote me on this, but I think that, no, this isn't true. Never mind. But Idris Elba, I think, was supposed to sign up for some MMA fight. I was going to say that Joe Rogan and Idris Elba were supposed to put on a fight together. Like back in the day, they were going to actually.
Is this Brendan's actor's name or who?
No, Idris Elba's. That's the cool black dude.
The first.
He's out in this movie. He's just an actor. He's the dude he's the black boss in The Office.
Yes, yeah.
That's the quickest way that I remember Idris Elba.
Yeah, right now he could be the next James Bond.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay, him. I know. I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know that about him.
Yeah.
No, I know what you're talking about.
English.
What is Brendan's name? Like, what is that actor's name?
The actor?
Yeah.
Let me look it up. Hold on.
Because he's good, and I've seen him in other stuff. I don't know his name.
Joel Edgerton.
Wow.
Yeah, what's he?
Doesn't even sound familiar.
No, he's in The Great Gatsby. Oh, he was Tom in The Great Gatsby. Mm-hmm. He was in Bright.
I actually just saw him in this movie I watched with my parents, The Boys in the Boat.
Yep.
Directed by George Clooney.
Oh, my parents told me to watch that. Was it good?
Hmm?
Yeah, it's a good American story.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's not really in anything that popular.
This might have been like one of his...
He was in Zero Dark 30.
Okay.
That was he was in Star Wars Episode 3 and 2.
Okay.
But...
Wait, what? When?
He's probably some side character. I mean, it's pretty far down in this list. Like,
yeah, I mean, he's a respected actor, but he's no A-lister, I guess.
No, but he was good. Like, I'm surprised he doesn't have any bigger roles.
That's what I'm saying. I thought he did a great job in this movie. And he wins.
Yeah. Australian.
Hmm. But yeah. So yeah, I'll give it a 7.5. Just because of the ending. If the ending gets fixed, if they just really land it better, I mean, this is just one of those like great movies, because you take the ending out and just the build up of everything. I think this movie is like over a 9.
Yeah, it has so much potential. Yeah, because it's so well made, and like the ending is where it really comes in hard. Yeah, the beginning's good, like, but it's not anything. It's not anything super special.
I think it just kind of gets to me because I love like these fighter movies. Yeah, where like you see these guys like in the gym, like training, like, but they got to go to their jobs. Yeah, and everything. So like it's like they're all in. Yeah, and so obviously it's just that underdog aspect that you're going for them. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I think that's just the American in me.
Right. I mean, these fighter movies, they're always bad. It's really hard to not like a fighting movie. Yeah. Even Bloodsport. Even though it sucks, you still kind of like it.
This is why they call it Bloodsport.
One other thing I thought wasn't developed very well was like, it's kind of pointless, like the school kid story, like with the school kids like wanting to cheer on, and then like this is a different topic, but I'll do that after this. But the kids aren't. They're like, let's watch our teacher. Like, that's all cool and all, but that doesn't really add anything to the story. I thought it was kind of pointless, but it did kind of pay off a little bit at the end once the principal was cheering him on.
Yeah, I love that because the principal didn't want to fire him. He was a cool guy.
He has to do his job.
He's just like, dude, superintendent's like this old head, and I can't have teachers showing up with black eyes. Yeah. It just doesn't look good. Yeah. Especially when I know that you're fighting in strip club parking lots. Yeah. He was like, that's just a bad look.
And also, it's before the UFC was even that big, so you're cage fighting?
Because it's not so much an image problem. But then, like, I would assume as far as the principal's thinking, he's like, when these dumbass high school kids find out that you're fighting in strip club parking lots, they're going to go. Yeah. And then they're going to get in trouble or they're going to get hurt. And then that's on us. Right. And so
it's that the school
so it makes sense that they have to let him go.
Yeah.
Like, it does. It sucks. You're like, oh, come on. Like, he's not doing anything. But the kids find out quickly. Right. And so they're probably thinking, like, well, I mean, shit, we're going to the next one.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Like, my teacher was fighting, I would for sure want to go see their fight.
Absolutely.
But so like
especially if you know they're winning.
Yeah, they're actually decent. Yeah. He was a legitimate UFC fighter. He said he like fought in the UFC. Mm-hmm. Their principal was like, UFC? He's like, yeah. He's like, oh shit.
It's like, guess I forgot to put that on the resume.
Yeah. But that pays off. So like, I was kind of like, that's kind of stupid. The kid's like, let's watch it at the school. And it's like, what fucking high school kids wants to go watch a UFC fight at their school? Like, let's be real. I would never want to do that. I want to do that in my house or one of my buddy's house where we can all hang out and act a fool. You're gonna you would advocate to put on a school event to the principal to watch the UFC fight?
To watch my teacher.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah. If it's my teacher, then yeah, probably. Okay, I'd probably be into that.
Maybe. But when I was watching, I was like, that's kind of a dumb scene. But then it paid off once you see the principal rooting for him and fucking getting hype with he's got his whiskey poured up. He's ready to watch it tonight. And you tune in to watch your teacher, who's your employee, fight in this cage match that you know he needs to win. In the first round, he gets his fucking ass kicked in the first fight. And you're like, oh no, this is a mistake.
Shut it down.
Shut it down, bro. Yeah, but it's good. I mean, it's fucking gets you going. Even though it's not that great, it fucking gets you going.
It gets you going. I mean, just the whole, Tommy being a war hero and, nobody really knows anything about him, like all that. And like, as that's like coming out, you're just like, oh, fuck yeah, Tommy. I thought you were just kind of this.
Right.
I thought you were just this depressed piece of shit that like wants to just kill everybody and just make $5 million.
Yeah.
But like, then it's like, oh, that's why he's so messed up.
Like in the beginning, they could have shown Tommy being obviously we know he's depressed because he's drinking and he's doing pills, but we could have shown him being a little bit more depressed because he kind of just kicks it very quickly. He gives it to his dad and he's done drinking. So it's like maybe show him with like we didn't seem that sad. For a good part of that beginning,
you could show him being a little bit more in this dark hole,
right? A little bit, because there's a good part of that movie in the beginning where he seems like he's just fine. He just seems like he's just wanting to fight and he's just kind of angry. It doesn't seem like he has this trauma and this backstory where he's a deserter and he feels like he caused his best friend to die, but he's also a war hero that's celebrated, so he feels conflicted in this thing. So like, if we would have known that, we could have seen the pain he's going through. We could have seen the motivation. If we would have known why he's fighting, then we would have been rooting for him and rooting for Brendan, and then being like, oh fuck, who's gonna win?
Which I still say, I mean, up until the final fight, I was just kind of tied. Like I didn't know. I was like, damn, Tommy's the war hero, but Brendan's got kids and he's the underdog teacher, so that's sick too. So I found myself thinking like, oh damn, I don't know who I'm gonna go for until the end, and I was like, go Brendan. Yeah.
And then so like I was gonna say this when I was talking about,
but if they do it better, you're right. It should be during the final fight. I should not have made the decision that, okay, I'm going for Brendan. Like you should be watching it
conflicted.
Yeah, and you're like, no, but
I was saying this in the beginning, or I was saying this when I was talking about the school kids. In the beginning, I think it would have been maybe a little better because it's Brendan's story when it's compared to Tommy's is very boring. He's a good dad. He's a school teacher. He's teaching them physics. It's just like basic ass fucking teacher scenes. Like literally every movie where the guy's a teacher, this is what you see. He's like, every reaction has an equal and opposite reaction or whatever the fuck he says. So, that's so basic. So if we would have shown him maybe getting the fight first and they were like, oh wait, who the fuck is this guy? And then see him being a good dad and then see him be a school teacher and then maybe see him, or we see something in the beginning where we know he's not this like clean cut guy, but he's trying to maybe see him struggle earlier and then see him be a good dad.
I think I would have liked to see or have seen the fight that put him in the hospital. Like, show that the reason he was hospitalized was because he like wouldn't quit. Yeah. He wouldn't throw in the towel. So he's just getting his ass beat the whole fight, like doesn't even get close to winning, but he never lays down. I think that would have been good. Like kind of just throw that in there, like show probably, I mean, I would imagine it would be like less than 10 years ago that probably like that incident happened because his kids are teeny tiny. Yeah. So that probably happened like 5 years prior or something like that. Yeah. So show that just to show that, yes, he's a teacher, but he also like, he knows how to take a hit. Right. So yeah, that would have been pretty good for developing.
Or maybe just maybe not, because it is a good payoff though whenever you find out he is actually a good fighter and he just beats the fuck out of that guy at the strip club parking lot. That's a cool payoff. So because you don't know he's a fighter. So maybe just some type of struggle in the beginning before we see him be a good dad with his kids. It wouldn't have been as boring because it's like you see Brennan's storyline. You're like, this guy, this is so boring.
Well, and think about when he tells the principal, he's like, I used to be one of those animals. Show what that meant. Yeah. Like, what kind of an animal were you before you got married and had kids? Because obviously you were probably way nastier of a fighter, or even the trainer kind of alludes. He was like, listen, I mean, it doesn't matter, like, if I'm your coach, like, you never listen to me anyways. Like, show that. Right. Show some kind of flashback. So, yeah, there were some things about this movie that fall short, but at the end of it, I will say it's a good movie. 100%. It's a great movie. It's a fun movie to watch. You're into it. For me, I mean, I was into it, like, the whole time. I enjoyed it a lot. But again, ending just fell flat for me a little bit. So that's why it's not higher than a 7.5.
Yeah. What really does give the score is how you feel throughout it. You feel throughout it.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I was into it. Like
I'm not going to lie, bro. I had like some tears well up like 3 times.
Yeah. Yeah, I did too. I think the first time that I was like kind of tearing up was whenever Brendan's dad shows up to his house the first time, and he wants to see his grandkids,
right?
And then he does see them, and Brendan like closes the door. It's like, God, that's got to be like the most heartbroken he's ever been in his life. He was like, I literally can't see the only family that I have.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to say.
Because it's my fault.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to say was I think it's good they didn't show the dads. They didn't show anything about the dad being a drunk, because we know now that he is redeemed. He is a changed man. He's not the person that the sons grew up with that they hate. So you root for the dad, because if you would have seen the dad be a piece of shit, you would have been like, fuck him. Like, yeah, the son should be pissed at him. Mm-hmm. But we see him as just the redeemed man, so we just take him as who he is right now.
Yeah, but they do show you, they give you a glimpse of what he looked like when he was drunk.
Which is good.
Because he's a war vet, and like he tells Tommy, he was like, Tommy, you could talk to me. Like, I saw some shit too. Like,
yeah,
I understand those demons.
Yeah.
And so like he's pretty much like, he gets drunk and he's talking about like, turn the ship around. So obviously he's
having PTSD, drunk flashbacks.
Yeah, PTSD. Just, he probably got on a ship and went into battle, and they probably got fucking slaughtered.
Yeah. And
then I think he even says something like, we're lost. Like the boat like must have like gotten lost like in the middle of the ocean. They probably like lost contact. So pretty good. Not doing too much, but like showing you, okay,
you can see
like how them growing up with him, they're like, yeah, he's a piece of shit.
Which I think is a good writing decision to make you see him for who he is right now, because everything you see in the movie you're gonna feel. Yeah. So if you want to show him as an actually redeemed man, then you should only see him as a redeemed man. Mm-hmm. You can see him fall afterward.
It's so like in a way messed up, because this is like years of trauma that he's inflicted on his family.
A lot of years.
But then you watch this movie, you're like, how bad could it have been?
right.
Like,
that's why I didn't get sad in that one, because I was reminding myself, like, yeah, but I'm sure this guy was a fucking piece of shit. He talked about, I mean, Tommy was talking about a lot of times, oh yeah, it's probably hard to find a girl that can take a punch these days. So he beat his wife. He probably beat his kids. He was just pissed drunk all the time. You know, just not a good growing up.
Yes, but seeing him as the redeemed man, like I remember tearing up, but then yes, you got to remind yourself, you're like, no, drunk dad beat his wife, beat his kids. Okay, bad guy. Bad. Yeah. That totally makes sense that he doesn't want his grandkids around him.
But I'm a sucker. Like, I was tearing up because I'm a sucker for success stories. And just when they start winning, and the wife.
Everybody loves the underdog coming up, and it's like, oh shit, he can do it,
Like when the wife's finally there, you're like, yeah, she's on team him. The principal's cheering for him. You're like, that's fucking cool shit. The principal really does care for him.
Yeah, he didn't want to fire him.
Yeah.
It was just political, pretty much.
Yeah.
But all right, 7.4, 7.5. We were on the same page. I feel like we're getting better about it.
yeah.
In a little bit.
There's some here and there where me and you are just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, what are you talking about? So yeah, this was a good one. This was my pick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but I just thought about it like this weekend. I almost watched it too. I was like, I'm sure I could watch it twice, but I'm glad I didn't.
Sometimes it's better to watch it twice.
Yeah, I mean, you can pick up on some things, but I was like kind of happy that we got to watch it together, and we both totally forgot like how this movie went, and we're just like looking at each other like.
I was thinking it might be worth it, because like that was like a movie where we had good reactions during the movie.
Yeah.
So it might be worth it for us to film like our reactions to the movie. People do that on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, people get pissed at us all the time on this show because they expect us to be reacting to it
as we're watching it.
Yeah, because there's so many YouTube channels. I didn't know this, but there's so many YouTube channels that are like, they'll be filming us here, and the background is the movie, and they're like, oh shit, oh fuck, and like that's what people expect sometimes.
I guess we could incorporate that.
That'd be fun.
We could give it a shot.
You're pretty good. We're pretty vocal at almost every movie we watch.
Yeah, we have to like tell ourselves, we're like, no, save it for the podcast.
Right.
No, write that down. Right.
Yeah, no, but Warrior is fucking great. Definitely recommend watching it.
Yeah, it's a good movie to watch.
The faults do not ruin the experience. It
is a good movie. You will enjoy it.
100%. All right, you got any final thoughts on Warrior?
You want to promise? In 3 weeks, they take the house. Don't know why that stuck with me, but I think it's because he just refuses to pronounce it as 3. He says tree, and I just didn't know that was like a Philadelphia accent.
That's a hard-ass job to just have to tell people the hard news all the time and just facts.
Yeah.
And you're just so used to it. You're like, I mean, you're going to lose your house, bro. Sorry. Nothing you can do about it. You work 3 jobs, don't care.
In 3 weeks.
Facts are facts.
In 3 weeks, we lose the house. So, yeah, good movie.
Good movie. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for listening, and we will see you next week. We are out.
Trying to buy my next meal. Seems all I do is drive.